the hidden code that's in this book, that everyone, we need to know what is the chaos code. Would you talk
Yes,
about
I
that
will.
some more?
Yes, sir. Here's the chaos code. Jim, I don't know how many people are watching from the program from other English-speaking nations, but this book, is for the world order right now, because Trump represents a world shift, not just an American political process. So all nations, I'm telling you, if you're from every English-speaking nation needs to be getting this book, especially. So the code is simply this. Donald Trump is the beginning of a new era of a shift that happened when Billy Graham died. I've got a chapter here called the Billy Graham Prophecy. When Billy Graham died, there was a shift that took place. And when that shift took place, there was a shift that was taking place spiritually as well for evangelical and for evangelism faith in America and around the world. There was a changing of the order, so to speak. Where we are now is Cyrus types are mayors and governors and presidents who are raised up in answer to the prayers of God's people, like Ronald Reagan, for instance, or like Abraham Lincoln or Winston Churchill, or I would even say Roosevelt, as mischievous as he was the right man for the partnership to beat Hitler. Chaos starts with Cyrus. Chaos started with Donald Trump. So Cyrus comes into power, and your Cyrus ruler is the secular populist shifting point. Now, behind that, you've got the H. The H is the house of God. The house of God prays the Cyruses in. Then the house of God has to stand up alongside the Cyrus in prayer. And then we begin to build a house for the nation, not just a house for us. The church in America is no longer safe just existing for us. They'll come and shut your church down. Jim Bakker, they'll shut your TV down. They'll shut us down if we don't expand out further into media and have laws to protect freedom of speech. If we don't protect our freedoms, they'll shut the church down. So you have the house has to be for the nation. And people gave me all kinds of problems over my 7 Mountain teaching, because it sounded dominionist. Well, look at what happens when the church doesn't have authority in media. The false prophets take over. When you don't have authority in academia, the false teachers take over and poison your children's minds. So the church has to be salt and light in every mountain. So the house of God is the church expanding its covering over the Cyrus nations and over their own freedoms and discipling and evangelizing their nation for the end-time harvest. When that happens, there's an awakening. That's the A. An awakening comes to the body of Christ. This is what we're praying for. We all want the awakening without the conflict. We want the awakening without the house. Doesn't work that way. We're going to have to do it God's way. Now the awakening hit. By the way, it's all based on what happened in the book of Haggai. 2 chapters in the Bible tells the whole code. Then after that awakening hit, Jim Bakker, Nehemiah showed up. Nehemiah said, it's not enough to have a house awakened. We need to protect the gates. We need to guard the walls. We need to surround our cities. These people will come ruin your suburbs, but burn down your houses. They'll take over your schools. They'll shut down your media. They'll quarantine you and track you on your iPhone to see where you are and who you're meeting with. And so you have to occupy the gates of influence. You got to move out there into justice, into the Supreme Court, into media. You have to have currency and money. You have to be able to have businesses that are able to be honest and ethical and compete with corrupt business practices. So now we occupy the gates. And by the way, when that happens, we will begin to have the borders around sheep nations, and Jesus returns. When he returns, he gathers all the nations, the sheep and the goats before him. And he judges the goat nations on how they treated the Jew and the Christian. And those that were sheep nations preserved and hovered over the freedoms of the Jews and the Christians. We're in that hour of history, and it's leading right to the second coming.